Good morning, Agape. My name is Reverend Veronica Valles. For those who do not know me, I am so deeply grateful to be here. And it's been an honor and a privilege to have been here the last 3 weeks while Reverend Lee has been on his journey. I want to give a round of applause to Jean Wallach, to Patty, to Stephen, to all the volunteers to our band right now, because they have held, and everyone here and who's been here, because you have held this community in the highest love that allows Reverend Lee to go on his deep journey. So clap. Let's clap for all of them. All of them. So last week, I've been so inspired by Anthony Bourdain. I'll ask the questions again. Who watches his series or watches series Parts Unknown or No Reservations? Awesome. For those of you who do not know him, I'm going to invite you. We're going to have a clip in just 1 second. But I was so inspired by his journey. I focus on the journey in him as a storyteller, a gifted storyteller, social justice activist in regard to food sustainability, the transformation. Last week we talked about the inner journey as inspired by Anthony Bourdain. You know, our story, our journey, our turning point. Here is a guy who was drug addicted in his 20s, ends up being this phenomenal world traveler, connecting with people and connecting us with people that we would have never met. And so we shared in relation to our story, our journey, our turning points. Today, though, is going to be more about the outer world, a world that works for everyone, which is part of our global vision. So we are going to watch just a very short clip, and then we're going to dive into a little bit of Anthony Bourdain, the world, and how do we see God everywhere we are.
You step outside the airport terminal, and you know right away, there's something about this place that I think I'm going to like.
I am the passenger.
Let it ride.
And I ride, I ride through.
Since I've arrived in this country, I'm either drinking or hungover. Like something crawled inside my head and then died. Is that normal?
He looks through his window. What does he see? He
Don't
sees
tell
the
me what you ate. Tell me who you ate with.
He sees the stars come out tonight.
There's a thing of beauty.
I'm singing la 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 la.
You know, his travels, and I'll wait till we get the PowerPoint up, have inspired me so deeply because I, as a child, have always loved the world. I, as a child, was born with this God heart that literally just by my own nature see God everywhere that I go. I'm going to share a couple of quotes of Anthony Bourdain that actually, inspire me about travel. He says, if I'm an advocate for anything, it's to move as far as you can, as much as you can, across the ocean or simply across the river. Walk in someone else's shoes or at least eat their food. It's a plus for everybody. So his connection to the world and the people that he met, to be able to understand people on their personal level has been powerful for me. The second quote is, travel isn't always pretty. It isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it hurts. It even breaks your heart, but that's okay. The journey changes you. It should change you. You take something with you and hopefully you leave something good behind. And then the last quote, which I absolutely love, is that travel's about the gorgeous feeling of teetering in the unknown. How do you meet God in the unknown? Anthony Bourdain was so gifted with his ability to connect with people over food. To go to these other lands, he was accused of being sometimes a little too political on Parts Unknown, but he said, how could I not talk about policies that affect people? He goes, when you have governments that are doing things on this level, but yet you meet the people on the streets, and you understand that just like me, just like us, they have these dreams, they have these values, they have these ways of life that are more in common than there are different. And so, we're going to reflect on these 3 questions that I shared last week in regard to how we're going to journey into a world that works for everyone. So Anthony Bourdain always asks people on his show, what makes you happy? What do you eat? And what do you like to cook? Which I love all 3 questions. My questions to you last week were, what makes you happy, what do you dream, and what is calling you? And all these questions are relevant to everybody and anybody around the world. And so as a Centers for Spiritual Living organization, we do believe in a world that works for everyone. Now, we have these principles, the Global Heart Vision. This is just one of the principles that we're going to focus on in the vision, and I'm going to share one of our guiding principles. So a world that works for everyone. We envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life. A world where the kinship with all life prospers and connections through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. There are all these principles. A world that works for everyone is a world that works for me, a world that works for you, a world that works for my neighbor that's in my community, a world that works for somebody in a country that I don't know about. It means everybody. One global family does not mean conformity. People get scared when you talk about oneness. They think one world government. No. What we're talking about is that we are spirit in this human incarnation. We are one family. Now, this is one planet. You know, I look forward, maybe 10 years from now, Lee and I will be traveling to other planets. Who knows? You know, I mean, you never know. You know, the journeys, the adventures of that. But this is one planet of the infinite nature of God. And everybody has dreams. Everybody has something that's calling them. Everybody has their authentic gifts that are seeking to reveal in whatever culture that they're in, whatever faith that calls them. So one of our principles is that we believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. So when we talk about the Global Heart Vision in regard to travel, it's like, how do you meet God everywhere you go? Now, who likes to travel? Raise your hands. Awesome. All right. Now, who's been somewhere that they've really wanted to go in the last year? Less hands. All right, thank you. All right, so for the rest of us, the inspiration is that you set that intention to travel. I love that I'm having this conversation with you while Reverend Lee is in Tibet and Nepal. Now, like Jean said in her meditation, we don't have to go anywhere to find God. The presence is right here. But it's when you travel that it breaks down those barriers. It's when you travel that you see just the intricate nature and the exquisite nature of God. When you travel and you meet people eye to eye, heart to heart, soul to soul, you don't have to agree on politics, on religion, but you can meet somebody in loving kindness. So when I travel, for me, it's just fascinating because what I do is I see God everywhere I go. The beautiful thing about Anthony Bourdain, he sat down with everybody and anybody. He says, you know, I don't have to like, you know, your politics or what you believe in to respect you, but he will sit with people at the table and listen from his heart, ask questions. So how often that we, because we live in this world of form, we believe there's a you and an I, but there's really just the oneness, but how often are we bringing in our cultural context, things that maybe we were born with, raised with, things that were conditioned within us, that created a filter in us where we don't see God everywhere we go? That when we meet people, we form an opinion about them immediately based on something that we've either experienced, a belief system that's either part of your culture, your community, or just, you know, the way that maybe you were indoctrinated. Nothing wrong. But what I'm inviting us to, that if we believe that there's only one God and that the highest God is the innermost God, that indeed what we're experiencing are expressions of God authentically. I am blessed to have a heart that is wide open, that sees God, that meets God. I have my mother's heart, I have my grandmother's heart. And then when I meet people, I do not have a personal opinion about what you're wearing. I actually want to know, because some people do, I actually want to know what makes you happy. How do you connect with what we call the divine? And because of that experience of getting to know people authentically and meeting them in the present moment, the minute that I meet people, they tend to let down their barriers. They tend to actually, after a few moments, and I'm connecting eye to eye, they feel safe. They actually feel my kindness. They feel the sincerity. Now, I'm not saying I'm a saint. I'm not saying that I'm best friends with everybody, but I am saying that I do like to meet people from other cultures, other religions, other traditions, and especially where I live. Because how are we going to create a world that works for everyone if we're stuck in stories of separation? How are we going to create a world that works for everyone if we don't meet each other in the present moment? So I'm inviting you to see God. When you meet someone, it's like, wow, this is a unique incarnation of Spirit showing up fabulously. Maybe prickly, maybe, whatever, but just how can you stand there in that mindful awareness, that non-judgmental awareness that I'm standing actually in the presence of God? I share with children, because I teach mindfulness, that we don't have to be friends with everybody, but we can be kind, and we can be friendly. We're not going to always agree with each other, but we can listen, and we can ask questions. We're not supposed to be the same. Why would God experience itself, like little clones? Each one of us is a perfect expression of God, and when you open your eyes to see God, which is what Anthony Bourdain did for so many of us. Now, he wasn't spiritual. I'm sure on the other side he's like, girl, I didn't say God, all right? But he saw people for who they were. He met people in their cultures, their customs. He ate their food, and sometimes some were just a little more interesting than I would have eaten, but he met them in the present moment, in that environment of who they were. And so he would meet people heart to heart. If you watch this show, and if you do not or have not ever seen this show, go on YouTube or go on Amazon, just download a couple of the latest episodes and just notice the way he weaves stories and music and history and people. You watch him laugh and connect. Now, I watched this episode, but they were actually laughing right before this photograph. He's meeting people authentically where they're at. So can you, everywhere you go, meet God? Can you actually, honestly, unconditionally stand in the presence of someone saying, I am meeting this perfect expression of the divine? Can you, especially if there's, other things that are happening, just move into your heart? Because sometimes, I'm going to be very honest with you, we're on this human journey. We all have our soul's experience. We're awakening in different ways. Some are more skilled than others. I'm not asking you to stand in front of those that maybe we have to set boundaries with. But what I'm inviting you is that can we see beyond that condition, even if you're not in front of that person, saying, but just like me, they want to be happy. Just like me, they have dreams. Just like me, they have a calling. Just like me, they want to be loved. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. I had an experience with someone who were on completely opposite sides of the political spectrum, and I was able to stand in front of her, and because I'm a minister, I'm also able to attune that there was a story behind people's behavior. And there was something really unhealed. And because I stood in front of this woman who I had just met and listened and asked questions, and I gave her a safe space to still vent from something that happened years ago, that the next day when I just called to connect, just very briefly, she goes, I want to thank you. No one has ever listened to me the way that you listen to me. And she said exactly this, without knowing nonviolent communication, I felt seen and I felt heard. Because in that moment, I could have been triggered when I start hearing things. I'm like, I don't need to react to that because that has nothing to do with me. This is this person's, preferences. This is this person's ideology. And this is this person who's now expressing to me pain. And then for me to stand there and remember I'm standing in the presence of God was the most powerful experience for me. Now, I'm not saying it's always easy, but it is powerful. And so the invitation is, especially when we're traveling. So I have this is my little table runner from Bali, the bowl is from Tibet. But the thing that I personally love about travel is that I get to meet people that I know I will never see again. I get to be with them in that moment. I get to get just a glimpse of their journey, their personality. And what travel does, it takes you out of your comfort zone into that unknown, into a realm that you can expect the unexpected. Because with travel, it's not, Jean said this earlier in meditation, I'm like, how perfect. It's not actually the destination. It's that present moment awareness. and being present to people as they are, who they are. In Bali, it is exquisite. Anybody here gone to Bali? Yes. All right. So I'm going to invite you guys to get to Bali somehow. Because one, $100 American dollars is 1,000,000 rupiah. So you're going to be a millionaire. So I walk around going, oh, I'm a millionaire. All right. And then you have to be mindful that when you're arguing at the markets, I'm like, somebody leaned in, like, you're arguing for 50 cents. I'm like, well, you told me that I was supposed to barter with them. So, but the whole point is that when I was in Bali, I got to be in the rich spirituality of this country. I mean, they are predominantly Hindu. They have ceremonies everywhere they go. They have temples in their house everywhere you are. They have these mandalas with the flowers. There's a procession happening here. There's a procession happening there. And to be able to be that person to move into the world in just a glimpse of the way that God showed up as them transformed my life that entire journey in 2008. When I went to Peru, that I dreamed about going since I was 9 years old, and once again to walk this sacred path, to try to, embrace the stories of generations that have walked the Incan path, to meet the people in Cusco, the people on the journey, people from around the world, sitting by the fire, telling stories, not asking, so who did you vote for? No, it's like, tell me about your life. What's life like in Australia? What's life like here in Peru? Meeting people in that present moment with a heart wide open expanded my heart. It embraces in that moment the way that the divine so uniquely and exquisitely shows up. And so the invitation is that when we travel, it changes us, like Anthony Bourdain said. But the invitation is that you don't actually have to leave Dallas or Frisco, but I invite you, because the world is a way that this one mind and this one power and this one presence that we call God has creatively, God only knows, outpicture exquisite beauty. And yet at the same time in our humanity, for a world to work for everyone, I must actually be fully, compassionately present to the suffering. I cannot deny it. Suffering happens. We suffer, others suffer, but there's some immense suffering. And the beauty of Anthony Bourdain, he was shining a light on that. How do we bring the awareness that what's happening between Iran and America is between the governments, that when he was with the Iranian people, he found people of love and compassion. He found people of values just like ours. He found people who valued family and love and faith. How can we lose what's, not to lose, but how can we let go of what's happening here while being full, responsible citizens, but meet other people in the present moment? Because a world that works for everyone must work for everyone. Everyone. It begins here with our inner work. It begins with our family and community. But when we travel, we see our first world privileges. In Peru and Bali, they're bathing in the rivers, and they're happy. I'm like going, I'm not going in there, but it's like, you start questioning your reality. It's like, all of a sudden I have such gratitude, just for having water. Gratitude for having a running toilet. Gratitude for having floors. Because 80% of our population of the world have dirt floors. And so it's like once we do the inner work, our lives are aligned, we find our love, we're living our soul's purpose, the abundance is flowing, we're circulating energy. And at what point then do we start looking at our community here and our community in the world and remind ourselves that, for a world to work for everyone, I get to play one little part of it. One little part, like find one little thing that you get to be that place and that space from which God shows up. Whether it's donating $10 a month to an organization. Whether it's my friend who is a Tibetan teacher who adopts, the monks in Tibet, little boys, and supports them. Whether it's, the Catholic charities, down in McAllen that I donated to. Whether it's, something that calls you that what can I do? What's one thing that I can do? I can't be everywhere. I can't do everything, but what's one thing I can do with the highest consciousness so that I absolutely believe and know that the highest God is the innermost God, that is one God. What one small thing can I do? And the invitation for your inner work is to look at those places, those edges of discomfort, of people of different traditions, or people of different faiths, or people of different neighborhoods, people of different countries. If you're having this, what is that? I invite you to explore that. Because here's the thing, the minute you make friends with somebody, all those illusions drop, all right? Because generalizations are deadly. Generalizations are lethal. And when someone says, all New Thought people are airy-fairy, that's us. All right? I'm like, what? You just call me airy-fairy? Like, you believe in unicorns, so I'm going to get one of those little unicorn things, And so it's like, wait a minute, but come meet me, come talk to me, ask me questions. Let me first ask you, what are you so uncomfortable about? And then you start hearing the false beliefs. You start hearing the stories. You start hearing, like, well, this is what happened, that's what happened. I'm like, can you meet me in the present moment in love? So here's your invitation. I'm going to invite you to go eat with God. All right? I'm going to invite you. So I'm actually going to the Turkish cafe that's around the corner if you guys want to join me. But I am actually going to invite you, since this is a world that works for everyone, to one, in your own spiritual community here, if there's someone that you haven't met, just go ask them what makes you happy. Ask them their name. What are you dreaming? And then in your neighborhood, this is what I loved about Anthony Bourdain. He went to places I would have never gone to. But the minute you tell me that's a really great place to eat, I'll go. So in the Bishop Arts District, there's this little shack. It's this little taqueria that when I'm driving down there, I would have never gone on my own. But I work there, and a friend of mine's like, they have the best tacos. I'm like, girl, I'm not going. She's like, no, trust me, all right? So we go, and these people have the best tacos. I should have brought a picture of that. And so the invitation is, like Anthony Bourdain would go to where the locals go to meet people in that present moment. So I'm going to invite you. Get a little out of your comfort zone. Find some friends that have something that's just a little more different than yours, and go find places that you can go eat. Bring your friends. Go explore Frisco. Go explore Dallas, and go explore the world. Because the more that you go, that you see God, you meet God, and then you go eat with God, which is what I loved about Anthony Bourdain, because he was always eating. Some things I wouldn't eat, but he was always having meals, all right? I'm Italian, Mexican, and Spanish, honey. It is all about the food, all right? So I remember when I was a kid, and there was a funeral, and I was tiny, and my Aunt Margaret, who's Mexican and Spanish, and they're wailing. They're like, oh, Dios mío, oh, so-and-so died. And all of a sudden she turns around, she goes, did you get some tamales? She goes, because we have plenty of food over here, all right? So even in the midst of all that was happening, it's all about the food, all right? So all of our different cultures have food that connects us. Because one, food is that perfect divine intelligence of God that has grown. And then we get to bring our creativity, and then we have to share it with each other. Because here's the thing that I know to be true, that when you're sharing with people you're connecting with, the food tastes better. It always tastes better. Like that woman from Greece, she goes, don't tell me what you ate, tell me who you ate with, all right? So your invitation, since this is Explore the Unknown, continue your spiritual practices. Lee will be back, and I'm so looking forward. I am speaking at another center next Sunday, but I'm looking forward to connecting with him and hearing about his journey. So the invitation as we wrap it up is that we're going to do a little loving kindness. But here's the invitation. See God. Like literally take off any filters and just see God. You don't have to be best friends with everybody, but see God everywhere you go. Meet God. When you connect with somebody here, connect with somebody in your community, connect with somebody in the world, meet God. Eat with God, because it's all about the food, honey. But invite people into your homes or go out and connect over food. If anything, Anthony Bourdain instilled in us that travel brings you to other people who share your same passions, values, and heart. We've got to meet each other in the present moment. We've got to meet each other in love. So as we wrap it up, we're actually going to do just a loving kindness practice. But the invitation is, 1, watch his shows. 2, connect with if you feel like there's anything stopping you from meeting other people, what is that? Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? Are the 3 gatekeepers for speech? And so I ask you if you have a thought, is it true? Is that true about all people? Is that really kind? Is it necessary? And if it's not, drop into your heart. Meet God in the present moment. We're going to do a loving kindness practice because the practice is a heartfulness practice. Because just like me, we all want to be happy. So close your eyes, and you're going to repeat after me, and I will guide you through this practice. So just take a deep breath together. And as we breathe in, repeat after me. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be joyful. Now, when we say you next, just envision somebody that you know, but also envision maybe somebody that you don't know. We're going to bring the world into our heart for a world that works for everyone, and repeat after me. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be joyful. Now, when I say we, we're going to talk about we, this community, but we, the world, the entire world, every single person on this planet. May we be safe. May we be happy. May we be healthy. May we be joyful. Now, we wrap it up with the I. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be joyful. Now, with your heart and mind wide open, eyes closed, we're going to invite you into that present moment of awareness. Take a deep breath in. And as this breath, as you exhale, that is the breath of God. It is a breath from which each one of us, is absolutely alive in this moment. And in this breath, we remember and anchor the awareness of the presence of God. One power, one reality, one truth. And what I know to be true is that everybody here and everybody around the world is a perfect, authentic expression of God. And how beautiful it is to know and affirm that I see God everywhere I am. I meet God everywhere I am. I eat with God everywhere I am, and to know that indeed that we awaken to a world that works for everyone. So as I know that indeed that my life is safe and happy and joyful and healthy, I hold that intention for all beings everywhere. That may we, when we meet people, see eye to eye, heart to heart, soul to soul, and just move into the glory and the knowingness that God is present in all of this. We give thanks for Anthony Bourdain and how he brought us to the world and how he brought the world into our homes and our heart. But we give thanks for each other, for the awareness and the principles of the one power, that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. So I know and affirm for each person here the magnificence of their life, that their life is working for them. I know that we take this out into the world as perfect expressions of love, that love is leading all of this, that unconditional love is the way that we move and groove as we meet each other. And as I know this truth, that a world that works for everyone, works for me, works for you, works for the we, that is the oneness of God, the wholeness of God, the power of God, the presence of God. So knowing that indeed that this banquet of good is a way that Spirit reveals itself, I stand here in delight of the divine, in the magnificence of love, in a world that works for everyone. Breathe it in, breathe it out, let go, let God, let's have lunch, and so it is.
I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wallach. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.